Welcome back inside the Hall of Fame. Stipe Miocic say, man, he wants some of Brock Lesnar.
He did.
Yeah, he say, look, let's do it. Let's put the ink on the paper and let's do it and quit talking about it. And the thing is, man, I'm just gonna go on record, man. That's a fight that I'd love to see. Because the reason I say that, I really think the matchup is it's a really, really good matchup. It's a pick 'em fight. We don't know who's going to win that fight right there. Brock Lesnar could become the UFC champion, bang, overnight, just like that, all over again. So I'm thinking, and I'm hoping that we're going to see. Not hoping. I'm wishing.
Thank you.
That we, because black folks, we wish. White folks, they hope.
We hope. We hope.
I'm wishing that we see this fight go off. And sometime real soon, man, because the way these fights are going right now in the UFC, seem like they make them in a month later, month and a half, they're in the octagon. So right now, it's some smoke, brewing. It's some smoke brewing. I mean, and normally where there's smoke, there's a little bit of fire. And if Dana White can make something like this happen, I'm sure he's going to make it happen. And Brock Lesnar, I'm sure he'd be willing to do that fight even much more so than stepping in there with a John Jones or, perhaps anybody else.
Well, here's the thing. To me, there are three fights on the table for Stipe Miocic right now. There's the John Jones fight, there's the Francis Ngannou fight, and then there's a Brock Lesnar fight. And I think that they're all money. I think that maybe the Francis one is a little less because we've seen it before. He beat him already. And here's the thing. If I'm Stipe, I don't want that fight. I don't want that fight for several reasons. One, because Francis is seemingly more dangerous than he was the first time that they fought, and he had learned something from it. And there might be a good chance I'd get touched on the chin one time, and I don't want that. Two, and I can say, hey, I already beat him. But the other reason is, if I do lose to him, not only do I lose my title, these two huge multi-million-dollar money fights, I miss out on them. And that's the opportunity to face either John Jones or Brock Lesnar. Now, if Brock and Stipe fight, here's the thing. We got to start giving some respect to my guy Stipe. All right? He's the greatest heavyweight of all time. And what's so funny is that we all throw that term out, or a lot of people in the MMA circles throw out he's the greatest of all time, and then they say that he will lose to everybody. Oh, he's going to lose to DC. He'd lose to Francis. He'd lose to Brock. He'd lose to John. But I'm like, well, he's the greatest, though, and he's beating all these guys. So I think Stipe beats Brock Lesnar just because Brock's older. He hadn't been in the octagon now for, another 4 years. Stipe's still fresh. And here's the thing. The Stipe we saw against DC, that might have been the best Stipe that we've seen. I mean, body-wise, he looked healthy. He looked light. But he still had the power behind his punches. He touched Daniel Cormier up pretty good, man. He touched him up real good. I would love to see the fight, though.
Look, man, the thing is, I don't care who wins as a promoter, and that's the way I always, try to look at things like this. I look at it from promoter standpoint. To see Brock Lesnar, first and foremost, back inside the octagon. I don't care if it's a one night. You know what I mean? He could do a one nighter. If we win the title, he can retire if he wanted to. But just to have him back in the octagon for one night, especially during this pandemic era. Man, it would be great for the company. It would be great for Brock Lesnar. It would be great for Stipe. Both of these guys get, Stipe more so than Brock Lesnar is going to get the biggest check of his career.
Absolutely.
Right? It's going to be big. It's going to be the biggest check he's ever going to see. So for Stipe to pick that check up, I love to actually see that. Who's going to win that fight, man? It's definitely a toss up, but I think the odds makers would lean in Stipe's favor just because, Brock Lesnar is where he is, been away from it for as long as he has, as well as there's no way you can, prepare, for cardio at that level if you hadn't been doing it. And I think that's where Brock has his most problems is, I don't know, third round. Getting past, one. Hopefully, if he can't get it out, get the fight over in 1 or 2 rounds, it's going to be a long night. Just from a cardio standpoint, Stipe's boxing ability, Stipe's ability after 1 or 2 rounds, ability to defend a takedown. It's going to be so much easier, and from that point on, it could get really, really. It could get ugly. It really could. So, but I don't think at the end of the day, I don't think it's about who wins or lose. I think it's about getting in the octagon, making that fight, getting the fans excited to see 2 heavyweights go out and do battle. That I think that's what the allure is more than it's the marquee. Seeing Brock Lesnar and Stipe, face to face, chin to chin, toe to toe. That's what it's about, man. I mean, the people, with no fans in that arena, man, it would be the biggest fight of the year from a buy rate perspective,
For sure.
as well as it might have some fireworks along with it as well.
I agree with everything that you said. With Brock, although in his Mark Hunt fight, he went the distance. He's gone the distance a few times in one, right? I mean, he went the distance with Heath Herring back in the day.
But it's a lot of, shenanigans go along with, his cardio in those fights. So, that's another story.
Right. And actually, I wanted to even bring that up. Just, we know what happened. The Mark Hunt fight, it got overturned due to USADA violation.
Yeah.
But I wonder about Brock is if he really gives a damn about that, right? Because I think there's 2 things that motivate Brock Lesnar. I think one of them is monetary gains, right, which he has made a lot of, and the other one is competition. And I think a big reason that he came back and fought Mark Hunt at UFC 200 was because of the way that he went out initially in his UFC career. I'm sure the competitor in him, that didn't sit right. And this guy he's such a freak athlete. He's one of the few people who could take that time off, come back and have an impressive performance. Now, sure, officially, it was overturned. But in Brock's mind, he's like, I went in there, I beat a top 10 heavyweight, I touched him up real good, went 3 rounds, got him down, did everything, did whatever I wanted with him inside that octagon. I'm good. I don't need to come back. And would I want to risk going out on a loss? I don't think legacy means a lot to Brock, but I think the competitive nature of him, I don't think that he would want to go out in a position to where he could lose. So for that reason, I don't think that we'll see Brock ever again in the UFC. But it doesn't prevent me from continuing to fantasy book this guy in everything. Because how we talk about James Harden being a statistical anomaly? He can just go out there and he can put up these crazy, insane numbers. I think Brock is probably an athletic anomaly. This is a guy who was the last person cut from training camp with the Minnesota Vikings after a motorcycle accident without ever playing a down of football. I mean, the guy is an insane human being, right? So if anyone could do it, he could do it. I just don't think that we ever see it.
I beg to differ, man. Brock Lesnar is, I don't think he care about his legacy or anything more than cashing a paycheck. I don't think a loss to Brock Lesnar is gonna. I don't think he's gonna stay up at night thinking about that. I just don't. Just because. He's lost in the WWE many times, and losing is a part of life, especially in the fighting game. But at the end of the day, if you got a huge check to make you feel just a little bit better, trust me, it makes you feel a little bit better about losing, especially if you don't take a lot of damage, especially if it's one of those fights where you go out there and bing, bing, bing. All right, let's go to the pay one, then pick our check up and go home. Those nights, man, I'm going to tell you right now, I've been in a lot of fights. I've been in a lot of fights throughout my life. And if I was getting a check for those fights that I had throughout my life for free, man, I'd have been real happy. I'm serious, man. That's the only thing I can equate it to because, fighting was just, part of life. And Brock Lesnar's, been, fighting, high school, college, all the way to the pro ranks of professional wrestling, all the way to the pro ranks of mixed martial arts. He's been fighting his whole life. So that's not, people, look at Brock as being a professional wrestler and just may think of that. And then, this guy just jumped into the UFC. No, this guy's been fighting his whole life. So just say, for instance, cauliflower ear, that's no problem for him. getting slammed on his head, you know what I mean, or put on his back. He's going through. That's been a part of his nature, you know, since he was a little boy. So I don't think it's gonna be about, you know, just winning, because you win in more than just one way when you're in this game, I think. And if you're not strategizing to win at the end of the day, and what winning means to me is walk away with a big bag.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? With a full faculty, man, knowing exactly, you know what's going on around you, you know. So yeah, that's what I think winning is. And at the end of the day, if Brock Lesnar plays his cards right, he can get in there and, you know, have that fight with Stipe, and win or lose, he wins.